My wholehearted welcome to all the participants. Valur College of Science and Management Institute is well-established education in Karur, which is affiliated to Bharatidasan University. Our institute always provide contemporary education and hands-on experience to the students. We believe that opportunity do not happen on their own; rather, we create them. Good evening. Good evening and welcome you all for the third day faculty development program conducted by Valur College of Science and Management. I heartily welcome our chairman, Mr. Sengutuvan sir, whose success is not built on one flashy solution. It is built on consistency, serious dedication, and hard work. I welcome our secretary, madam, Mrs. Hemalata Sengutuvan, who act as a mentor who sees more talent and ability within you. Thank you, seeing yourself and helps bring it out of you. Persistence, perseverance, and continuous improvement are the ingredients for forming a successful person. Who is our governing council member, Ms. Raghavi Sengutuvan. Welcome you, ma'am. Well, I welcome our principal, Dr. G. Vincent sir, who is a good leader, inspires people to have confidence in their leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. Before moving further, I, on behalf of Valur College of Science and Management, would take an opportunity to thank all the participants for such wonderful response to this program. Thank you once again. In accordance with the faculty development program schedule, we will proceed with today's session on topic Curriculum 4.0. Without much delay, I would like to invite our department staff, Dr. G. Radhika ma'am, to introduce today's resource person, Mr. Rishikesh, to apprise the objective of this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jeevita ma'am. Learning is finding out what you already know. Doing is demonstrating that you know it. Teaching is reminding that others, they know just what we know. So we are all learners, doers, and teachers. A well-crafted curriculum serves as a reference to ensure that you are on a right track. Curriculum consists of several components such as goals, durations, need analysis, learners and teachers, exercises and activities, resources, ways of learning, skills to be acquired, language structure, and ability assessment. Then what is curriculum? Curriculum is a process of gathering information, of evaluating the effectiveness of the curriculum and ensuring that the intended, implemented, and attained curricula are aligned. It measures the extent to which the curriculum is compensated with the diverse needs of all the learners. We think too much about effective methods of teaching and not enough about effective methods of learning. To develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science, learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything. With this quote, I would like to welcome our today's renowned speaker, Mr. Rishikesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Christ University, Bangalore. He is an alumnus of Delhi School of Economics who has ample years of experience in various reputed institutions, such as Sri Ram College of Commerce, New Delhi, Providence Women's College, FIMS. He is a Senior Research and Publication Associate at IIM Kozhikode. He has published many articles in reputed journals and presented papers both in national and international conferences. He was also a resource person for many faculty development programs, academic and corporate workshops. He is also a member in many professional bodies such as All India Commerce Association, All India Management Scholars Association, All India Management Association, Calicut Management Association, Indian Accounting Association, and Sadhguru Sangeet Sabha. He is a member in Board of Studies in many institutions such as Garden City University, Bangalore, N.G. Bedkar College of Commerce, Mumbai, Mount Carmel College, Bangalore, Lakshmi Amni College, Malleshwaram, and Banari Amman Institute of Technology, Erode District. He writes many articles in the Hindu, the Indian Express, and he has book translation to his credit. Last but not the least, he runs a discussion forum, Let's Chat, a YouTube channel, Learner's Loop, and he is also a professional Carnatic musician. Such a renowned person is with us who will be sharing his views, ideas, and thoughts on Curriculum 4.0. I once again welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our respected resource person, Mr. Rishikesh, the sculptor of human character, a seasoned scholar and a navigator of this flagship of knowledge, to share his idea. Over to you, sir.
So before I begin, let me ask a very cliched question of our times. Am I audible? Is my screen visible? Is my video
Yes,
visible?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vincent sir, for having connected me for this faculty development program, because I understand sir was the one who had taken initiative to, at least in my case, to make this interaction possible. Um, I also thank the management of the Walliver College of Sciences, and everyone else who had put in your efforts to make this faculty development possible. Thank you also for very kind and generous. I said I wanted only what is relevant to be read out, but I think the entire dossier was read out. Thank you for that. Well, as in the introduction it was mentioned, I work at Christ University, Bangalore, but I'm a native of Kerala. And once in a while, once or sometimes it becomes more frequent, twice or thrice in a month, I drive back from Bangalore to Kerala. And from Bangalore to Kerala, a bit after Mysore and before we reach Wayanad, there is a place called Gundalpet. So obviously, it's a long drive. And this time I had my friend with me and he said, Rishi, we'll take a break and we'll step down. We'll take a break at Gundalpet. We stepped down in one of our, drive back during the normal times. Yeah. And we decided to have an interaction with the farmers there. Gundalpet is also a place where you'll find a lot of farming on either sides. It is quite seasonal. Sometimes, as you see here, you'll end up seeing sunflower, sometimes vegetables, sometimes if it is festival season like Onam or Vishu, it will be flowers. And this time when we were there, they were growing sunflowers, and this is one of those images. And we started having interaction with the farmers, and farmer had asked a question which was later validated by my friend. He said, this is how the sunflower would look on a sunny day or on a bright day. But do you know how it looks like when it is likely to rain? I was completely oblivious of the answer to this question. But then my friend, along with the farmer, who was a school dropout, gave me almost half an hour of a lecture. And that half an hour of lecture was kind of life insights, at least 10 or, yeah, probably 5 to 10 insights which I got in that interaction. And one of the insight was, when it is on a bright day, this is how the sunflower would look like. But if it is likely to rain, these sunflowers would face each other and they'll draw energy from each other. Well, that is exactly what we all are doing today. Today, I'm understanding there are 300 plus participants in this faculty development program from across India, sometimes even across the globe. And today, what we are doing is we are drawing energy from each other. We are trying to learn from each other. And such possibilities had increased. Now, having said that, I just wanted to also mentioned that this interaction shouldn't be one-sided, because the collective wisdom of all the people who are assembled on this evening, I'm sure, is much, much more than what little ideas I'll be sharing in the next probably about 1.5 to 2 hours of the time that we are planning to spend together. Because all of us come with wealth of experience. All of us are here in this platform with concrete experience, solid experience, right? Because I might be addressing to faculties who've just started their career, probably with 15 years of experience sometimes, who are in the verge of retirement. But eventually, all of us do come with experience. And what are we doing now? Today, we are doing a reflective observation of what we are doing and what we are not doing. We are reviewing the academic practices. Today, the topic that we have chosen is curriculum. Is the curriculum up to what is expected of the day? What are we doing in curriculum and what are we not doing with our curriculum? So we'll do a reflective observation, and then we'll conceptualize, abstract conceptualization in the form of learning from each other, sharing and exchanging. Yeah. So after we conceptualize ideas, we'll go back and experiment these, and this cycle would continue. But online platform has given us a lot and lot of such opportunities, because I sit at one place, Vincent sir and his team is sitting at another place, and all of you who are attending this workshop are all at different places. But we have come here with experience for a reflective observation to conceptualize ideas and go back and experiment in our own academic spaces. And I hope and wish that I don't disappoint you, because you all could have been elsewhere. You could have gone and watched a movie in Netflix or in Prime. You could have been with your family, but you chose to spend about 1.5 hours with us. So I think that it's a great responsibility. Having said that, I have a few suggestions. It's not like a rule of thumb, but I hope all of you have logged in using your name, so that in case I need to interact with you, I can call your name and ask things. Ensure you have a solid connectivity, because I might be playing some videos, audios as also videos. There'll be some activities, so let's have active engagement, online surveys, online activities. And I would also suggest you to switch on your video if possible, because I'm bored of talking to icons. It's been almost one year, 6 months now, 1.5 years, talking to icons, seeing only the icons, So it's better so that there'll be a little more organic conversation between us. And if you have anything to ask, my suggestion is to reserve all your questions towards the end, because some of the things that you might raise in the form of a question might get answered in the subsequent slides or in the course of our discussion. So it is better that you reserve all your questions towards the end. We'll spend about half an hour to ask and clarify. And you can always feel free to add on if in case I have misquoted something, or if you want me to correct, you can give a critical feedback. So these are some of the suggestions. And one last thing is, I'm not going to share this PowerPoint with you, because if you want to take anything important, I want you to take a note of it or make a note of it. Yeah, because none of the ideas that I've compiled and presented will be presenting are my own. I have relied on lots of literatures which I found interesting, cross-connecting, mostly of the reports of World Bank, World Economic Forum, and a lot of studies published by academic institutions, academicians is what I have collected. So for me, it's a great repository which I keep using in multiple platforms. So I'm not sharing this, but if at all you find something interesting, because I've given a link and other details, the source from where, the date or the journal, all those details I've mentioned, so you can take a note of that. Yeah, so that's on that note I intend to begin. So the first thing is, it's not that I have an answer to all your questions. I have a lot of questions to which I'm seeking an answer. So as I said earlier, if you have any questions, I might be able to give you some half-baked answers, or probably some leads, some kind of suggestions, because I'm not an expert in this subject. I have a lot of interest in this subject. And probably I'm also as confused as at least some of you are. So let's learn it together. Yeah, I don't want to place myself at a high pedestal and preach a big things, but I'll try to clarify to the extent that I have learned about this topic that we have chosen for our discussion. Now, 2010 till 2015, I did work at Christ University. And then I decided to take a break, and I returned back to Indian Institute of Management in the Research and Publication Division, of course, for some personal reasons. For 2 years, I worked there, that is from 15 and 16. And in 2017, I rejoined in my previous institution. So my dean, who's also my PhD guide, Dr. Tommy K. Kalerical, sir asked me to give a feedback of what change I had witnessed at Christ University during my absence. That was my introductory, the first thing I had to do was to self-introduce, and I was also asked to give a feedback on the change that I had witnessed when I left in 2015 and when I rejoined. So that time I was reading a book, Corporate Chanakya, written by Radhakrishnan Pillai. And I just used a small phrase which I came across to explain how I felt. In this book, Corporate Chanakya, there is a context. The context is a bike expedition group. The team leader of this bike expedition group makes an announcement over a campfire. I hope you know what a bike expedition is. A couple of people choose a destination, they take their two-wheeler and start a ride with a backpack and a lot of other essentials needed. So this was one such team, but the team leader said, I have to make an announcement, and asked all the team members to assemble over the campfire. And he said, dear friends, I have a good news, and I also have a bad news to share with you all. The good news is that we have traveled more than what we had initially planned for. We had this destination in mind, but we have traveled more than what we had in mind. And he said, we also have a bad news. And the bad news is that we are completely lost. We don't know where we are. Whenever I step out of the classes, at times, I feel like I have a good news and also a bad news, because a lot of things had changed in that 2 years. The 2 years when I was not there in the campus of Christ University had changed the student expectation. It has changed the usage of information and communication technology in the classroom, the extensive usage of it. Because every classroom there had the PowerPoint presentation, every classroom had the acoustics, everything which was in there. The parents' expectations had changed. The expectations of the regulatory bodies had changed, because research became an important component of teaching, especially when you're a part of a university. Research is one of the criteria for your promotion and career advancement. So a lot of things have changed in the 2 years which I was in there. So I said on that introductory note, sir, I'm completely confused. There is a good news. There are a lot of things which are positive, but at the same time, there are a lot of things which I'm completely clueless about what is happening. So that's from where I start my research on this topic. What are the things that have changed? Where is it that I as a faculty need to change? What is it that I should be doing with my curriculum? What is it that I should be experimenting with the syllabus that I have? And lots of such allied questions followed. And then fast forward today, I came across something called panic Goji. What is panic Goji? You know what a pedagogy is? Pedagogy is the methodology of teaching. But panic Goji is another terminology today in the times that we are living in, post-pandemic era, teaching online classes during the coronavirus pandemic. Everyone is panicked. Students are panicked. We don't know when we'll go back to the new normal, if at all there is a new normal. We don't know when we'll go back to the offline mode of classes. We are continuing with our hybrid. We don't know how the examination is likely to happen. Is it offline? Is it or will everyone get a waiver? Just like, certain 10th and certain classes, all it's full pass. So there is uncertainty which is prevailing around. And this panic Goji is all about this uncertainty, the complexity that we'll be discussing. Amidst the current pandemic and a lot of other things allied, how do we develop a good curriculum, or what is expected of a curriculum? That's what I'll be trying to discussing in the next probably about 1.5 to 2 hours that we'll be spending together. So let me discuss this in two different contexts. I want you to make a guess of what this is. This led to global digital transformation. This led to the reduction in carbon emission. This led to the cut of 5 million jobs across the globe. I know most of you would have made a guess. It's a giveaway. I'm talking about the current coronavirus pandemic. Let me take the first point here. Responsible for global digital transformation. I came across a cartoon. It was more like an MCQ, multiple choice question. And the title is, what brought the digital transformation in your organization? And it gives 3 clues. The chief executive officer, second clue is chief technical officer, and the third clue is coronavirus. And you know the answer. COVID-19 is the answer. Most of the organizations are now, who were reluctant to go online, are now compelled to go online, experiment with a lot of online. So amidst the changes which is happening, which we are forced to, how do we develop a curriculum which is recent and relevant? I still remember I don't want to mention, but because I have a huge respect for that faculty, but let me say, I'm not even mentioning which university, but there was one of my professor who was extremely good with the conventional chalk, walk, talk mode of teaching. He was reluctant to use technology. And it so happened that during classes, one of the students kept looking outside whenever he takes classes, and he noticed it. He went and observed other faculties' classes, but other faculties, this girl is listening, actively listening. So once he decides to call back, because he had given multiple occasions, he had given warning to this girl, and she continued doing it. She continued looking out of the classes. So once all of us were sitting in the faculty lounge, and he calls and asks, why do you look outside when I'm taking classes, when I'm seriously engaging in the class? Actually, he desperately wanted her to stop that. But the answer or the response which she gave was an eye-opener, not just for that faculty, but for all of us who were there in the staff room. She said, sir, whenever you take class, nothing was happening inside. And that inside, she pointed herself and said, nothing was happening inside, and therefore I look outside. And it was literally a blow on all of us. What did she say? You are an absolute failure as a faculty. You're not able to connect with people like me who are more prone to online and digital mode of learning. You might be good with chalk, walk, talk, but if I may say, I think this is a generation who learns more from the screens and the earplugs. To connect with them, is your conventional teaching methodology, pedagogy, the curriculum or the syllabus, whatever you call, which are all closely connected, enough? Is it time to change? I mean, these are certain questions we'll try to address in this small discussion. So one, I said, I'll be discussing a bit of a context of how the COVID-19 or the coronavirus pandemic had changed the teaching, learning online. I'll share some of my personal experiences and some of the kind of ideas that I've come across. And then I'll talk about another thing which is extremely important for us to understand. That's the second context I'll be speaking about. I hope you're aware that Volvo had come up with a car in 2019 which can do the recruitment of its technical staff on its own. This car has artificial intelligence embedded in it. And this car does the recruitment, the selection, conducts the interview and selects its technician. And I want you to watch that video for some time so that it gives me a small break. And then you would also appreciate what I'm talking about. Sorry for the delay.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview.
Yes, indeed. You're welcome.
Are you feeling stressed?
Just a bit, you know.
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable.
I feel a bit better now, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I hope you've understood what I was talking about. Here is a car which does recruitment of its employee. And the car is known as HR90. And it's by Volvo, which I'm guessing was in 2018 or 19. Here is another example which I have. I'm just setting a context. I'm so sorry I didn't say that. The topic is curriculum 4.0, but I'm setting a context because I have two parts of my presentation. The first part, I'll set a context, give a premise in which we need to understand the current curriculum and what is expected to be updated and upgraded. That's the second part of my presentation. Yeah. So I've split my session into two. Now, the second example in this case is a hotel which is started by Alibaba. The name of the hotel is Flyzoo. And this hotel has zero human intervention. Right from the moment you enter till you exit, there is nobody involved. no people involved in any of the activity. What you see on the floor is a room boy. You can give a voice command to switch on the lights. You can give voice commands to get your food. There are AI integrated chefs, yeah, room boys. Imagination is only the limit in this hotel. And he had started one, Alibaba, the Jack Ma had started this hotel, and he plans to establish 9 more across the globe. So what am I talking about? I'll be talking about two contexts. I'll set two contexts for our discussion about Curriculum 4.0, giving examples which I hope you'll be able to appreciate and relate with what I'm speaking, so that later on when we get into the topic of Curriculum 4.0, you'll be more precise. It gives more clarity as to what is expected. So I'll be talking in two contexts. The first context is about the Industry 4.0, because the Curriculum 4.0 is actually a result of Industry 4.0. And then I'll also speak about the current COVID-19 and how it has transformed the education sector. So these are the two premises on which I'll be speaking. And I'll also set a context which will help us understand and appreciate the second part of my presentation, which I'll focus only on Curriculum 4.0. G.A. Henty had written a book called, this is what I was saying. I'll be mentioning the name of a few books, a few articles, few reference materials. If you find it interesting, make a note. I repeat, I'm not going to share this PowerPoint. So G.A. Henty had written a book called Through the Fray, the Tale of the Luddite Riots. And what was this Luddite riots for? There was a lot of mechanization which took place in 1811. Mechanization means the man was replaced with machinery, and this naturally led to unemployment. So the unemployment due to the introduction of machines had made a lot of people annoyed, and it led to attack of these machineries. They literally thrashed, damaged all the machineries that were installed in the companies. And you won't believe this attack on the machineries went on for 5 years, 1811, and this riots continued till 1860. And it is called Luddite riots. And these attackers came to be known as Luddites. As I said, I'm just setting a context. Similarly, in 1907, on 24th of April 1907, a lot of lamp lighters in New York started a strike. And who are lamp lighters? Till then, this is how the public lamps or the street lamps were lit. These were all gas lit. The same LPG gas that we are using in the kitchen was used to light or to lit the lamps or these street lights. And there was one bunch of people known as lamp lighters who in the evenings would go and lit these lamps. And these lamp lighters were also anxious about technology replacing their job, because it was on 24th April 1907 that all of these gas lights were replaced with electric bulbs. So they started fearing technology would take over their jobs, because the job of lamp lighters were done for 3 or 4 generations. For them, it's a complete loss of income. So they feared that they would lose the job, and they ended up damaging all the machineries. I'm just giving few examples. I want you to cross connect, and then towards the end, you would understand what I was talking about. So I spoke about 2 professions, Luddites, which eventually then led to Luddite riots, and second, the lamp lighters. Now, the third is, you can see a person sitting on a higher pedestal and reading out the newspaper. And this is how it used to happen before the technology of television or radio, that technological advancement had taken place. The daily newspapers were read out by a person with his job title, lector, Lector. I mean, that's the job title of the person who's sitting in the chair. He or she would read out the daily newspapers in a manner that it entertains all the employees in that company or in that factory, for that matter. Probably this can be considered as the beginning of infotainment, information with entertainment. That's exactly what he was doing. But this is another image of how it used to happen. But fast forward, on 28th of May 2021, do we get to see this lectors in any of the organization? This job no more exists. Today we are in the fourth phase of industrial revolution. The first phase was in the year 1784 when steam engine was introduced. In 1870, electricity got introduced. 1969, computers got introduced. And today we talk about cyber physical systems. What is cyber physical systems? Artificial intelligence, humanoids, and lots of other technology which is taking over a lot of jobs that we were doing for generations. Similarly, if you look at the technological advancement, which has led to the current phase of industrial revolution, what took probably 80 years, telephone actually took 80 years to reach 100 million people. But Facebook could do that in less than 2 years. This is what the statistic says. Telephone took almost 80 years to reach 100 million users, but the Candy Crush took less than 1 year. Instagram took 1.5 years. WhatsApp, it was possible in 2 years. So my point here is the technological advancement and the pace at which it is happening is unprecedented. We are living in a time when the only thing that is, this is something that we talk about change. The only thing that is changed, unchanged about change is that changes will change. Change has become quite rapid and it is unprecedented today, right? Now, I spoke about a couple of people damaging the machineries. Then I spoke about the growth of the industrial revolution. There are 4 phases, and currently we are in the cyber physical phase, which is otherwise known as Industry 4.0. But what is the consequence of this Industry 4.0? I spoke about another example, lector. Today we don't have a lector. And this is what a report which was published in 2017 December by McKinsey. The title of this report, I'm suggesting this is a must read in all the academic institutions, all the faculties, all the academicians must read this report. You can freely download this. Jobs Lost, Jobs Gained report, which was published by McKinsey in the year December 2017. It talks about the workforce transitions in times of automation, and it predicts that by 2030, 400 million jobs, current jobs that all of us are doing, is likely to become completely outdated. And it has already started in US. Doctors are losing jobs. Why? You just enter your disease or your ailment. You get the cloud server gives you solution. Accountants are losing jobs. Why? Because the routine, repetitive jobs are all taken over by technology. And they do it 10 to 20 to sometimes even 50 or 100 times faster, quicker, and more precise than what you're doing. So why do you need technology? So why do you need people there when technology can do it much better? And this is what is predicted. And today, 2021 May to 2030 is just 9 years ahead. 400 million jobs is likely to get automated, or 400 billion. I mean, I'll just give you a gist of it. 2010, suppose you had to do an aerial view and record a video. You had to hire a helicopter, a pilot, a cameraman, and if you don't have a camera of your own, you had to even rent it. But today, you can do it with a drone. In just 10 years, how many people have lost the job? Cameraman, the pilot, and if there are other people involved, they all have lost the job. So it is a time to upgrade ourselves. And how do we upgrade it? Where should it begin? It should happen in the classrooms. It should happen in the minds of the faculties who are there online today. And what are the kind of changes? What are the kind of upgradation that we are looking at? We'll discuss it towards the end of our session. Now, these are not my words. I've taken Jerry Kaplan, a professor of Stanford University, and he's written a brilliant book. Another book I'm suggesting. The earlier one which I suggested is Jobs Lost, Jobs Gained Report of McKinsey, published in December 2017. This is another brilliant book. Humans need not apply. If you don't have the habit of reading, please do go back and suggest it to your library, to your librarian. Let somebody else who has interest in this topic read and understand. But I would say everyone, every academician must read each of these reports, each of these books. Now, Jerry Kaplan had said automation is now color blind, not color blind, which means every job, whether it is a white collar job or a blue collar job, every job is under a threat. And he relies heavily on the report which I mentioned earlier. Having said all of that, let me also give you a sort of historical perspective of where technology was and where we are heading towards. Now, this is a document which every Indian who owned a television had to, I think this was still 1983. Anybody who had a television set or a radio had to have this document. It's called radio television license. And this document had to be renewed every 6 months. And the interesting thing is, if you're carrying this document, if you're carrying any of these gadgets, either radio or television while you're traveling in a public transportation, you have to take tickets for that. 50 rupees for one, I think half a year for television, and 25 rupees for radio is the license fee. During those days, 1983, 50 rupees is a big amount. Fast forward, today, we live in a time of Internet of Things. What is Internet of Things? Imagine a world, everything is connected to internet. Your mobile phone is connected. Your television is connected. Your four-wheeler is connected. Two-wheeler is connected. I mean, the other day I saw a shoe, Lechal, which is based out of, it's a Hyderabad startup. Lechal has GPS in it, Wi-Fi in a shoe, I'm saying. So today we are living in a time where everything around is connected with internet, and that's exactly what Internet of Things is. Bosch, a company, had come up with a refrigerator, if I'm not wrong, which can be operated within a radius of 25 to 30 kilometers. You can switch on and switch off. You can control the temperature. And what is further interesting is this refrigerator also has artificial intelligence embedded in it, which can place orders whenever the products get over in the refrigerator. And by the time you're back from office, the product is delivered at the doorstep. So that's the world that we are living in. That's the world we are heading towards. See, as I said, I repeat, I'm just setting a context. This is only the first part of my presentation. The second part is where I'll be focusing only on curriculum 4.0. Now, what is happening in this fourth phase of industrial revolution? Artificial intelligence, robotics. Go back and watch the videos of Boston Dynamics. It's scary. The kind of technological developments which is happening in the laboratories of Boston Dynamics is what you might have seen in only the sci-fi movies. It's scary. It's crazy in a way. Third is humanoids. I hope you're aware that Sophia, a robot, gets citizenship in a country. And look at the growing importance of technology. Virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, big data analytics, machine learning, collaborative learning, drones, self-driving cars, blockchains, 3D printing. I hope you're aware that in IIT Madras, a house was 3D printed in just 2 weeks. And this happened about 1 year back in the Middle East. They had 3D printed, I'm repeating, printed a house. So that's how the technology is advancing. And it just cross-connect with what we are teaching in the classroom about the syllabus. How frequently do we update it? About the skill sets our students need. Are we working on it? And these are questions which I'm posing. Now, what I'm talking about is, I spoke about all of these examples earlier, so I'll be a little fast here. If you take personal assistants, you have Siri, Home, Alexa, which is already there in our bedrooms, some of our bedrooms. Yeah. Lawyers are losing jobs, but because you have a technology called ROS, 90% accuracy is what the decisions are made by ROS as compared to 70% of humans. Doctors, you have IBM Watson. Autonomous drivers, you have Tesla, Waymo, Google cars. Investors, stock market is investors. You have Numera, who does investment decision making, which is 70 to 80% more precise than human decisions. You have Microsoft, artificial intelligence, facial recognition and analysis, and you just go on and on. Every day, what has changed in the past 1 year is much more than what has changed in the past 10 years. The change has become quite rapid. So I would slightly modify what Charles Babbage, had said, not Charles Babbage. Darwin had said, survival of the fittest is a little outdated kind of philosophy. It is not just the survival of the fittest, it is the survival of the fastest. How quick and fast you adapt to the changes is what decides your fate and destiny, in addition to survival of being the fittest. So I'm just validating my argument here again with Sebastian Thrun, who said, we are just seeing the tip of an iceberg. None of the office job is safe. I mean, this is exactly what the earlier professor had also said. Sebastian Thrun validates it. Now, there is another book which I would suggest, Rise of the Robots by Martin Ford, is a classic work on the topic that I'm discussing. He said, jobless future is what we are heading towards. Most jobs can be broken down into series of routine tasks, and it can be done by machines. So you don't need people there, right? Okay. Now, let me come to the classroom part of technology. Now, slowly and gradually, I took almost 40 minutes to set the context. Slowly and gradually, I'm getting into the topic now. Ashok Goyal is one much sought after Indian professor, but he's working for a university abroad. He's known for the topic knowledge-based artificial intelligence. And he was conducting classes, and in our university too, we do have this practice of teaching assistants. And I hope you know what a teaching assistant does. He or she would monitor the student performance, the class participation, award marks. So once the girls especially were so impressed with one of the teaching assistants by the name, Jill Watson, And the girls decided to fix a date with this teaching assistant. They wanted to date. Were so impressed. They consulted or they approached Ashok, and he said, sorry to say, Jill Watson is not a person, it is a chat bot. So the point I'm trying to bring in here is the usage of technology for classroom management has started with Jill Watson. Experiments like Jill Watson, where you don't need people for students' performance monitoring, you just need a chatbot which can assess the student performance. And don't think it's happening only in US or UK. Not very far from the university where I'm working, Christ University, there is a school called Indus International School. They bought 3 robots, which has replaced faculties. Robots turned teachers in Bangalore school, all thanks to artificial intelligence. So what I'm talking about has actually reached our doorstep. I conducted a workshop for a couple of entrepreneurs. I think it was in 2014 or 15, and the organizers said, Rishi, you need to go and see this was happening in Kallur, a place in Kerala, in Cochin. And the organizer said, Rishi, you need to go and see the HDFC Bank there. The moment I stepped in during the break, when I was conducting the workshop, I took a break and then went, and I realized that I was greeted by a robot. And what is interesting is the front office manager of HDFC Bank was replaced with a robot. Imagine there are 3,000 or maybe even more branches of HDFC Bank, and all of those 3,000 branches are replacing the front office manager with a robot. 3,000 people are lost the job. And that's the point which is brought in by the McKinsey report, which got published in December 2017. 400 such jobs, which are routine in nature, which are repetitive in nature, which can be better done by technology, will all be taken over by missionaries. Information technology, computer, artificial intelligence, human knowledge. Now, I recently watched this video. I'll play this for the benefit of me getting a small break.
Eating out after so long, such fun. Hai na, Papa?
Always. Your bill, sir. What's my pin, yaar?
फिर से पिन भूल गई? Wait, I've got cash.
बैग है या ब्लैक होल? हाँ?
उफ, लगता है कैश घर पे भूल गई.
Relax, Mom. It's on me.
पर पे कैसे किया?
मेरे नए पेमेंट वॉच से.
Introducing Titan Pay, India's first payment-enabled watch in partnership with Yono SBI.
So SBI has had a tie-up with Titan, and you don't need to carry your credit or debit cards. You just need to swipe your watch, and the amount is deducted if you're going for shopping, going for dinner. So point is, whatever advancement technology is bringing in has actually reached our doorstep. It is time that we think about it. I had a professor, A.F. Matthew, one of the most sought after professor at Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. And whenever he discussed an idea, he would say, Rishi, you think about it. I'm not saying, this is what it is, but let this make you think about it. Yeah, just think about it. So what I was essentially trying to, probably about 40-45 minutes, I was trying to discuss is this. Car sales is going down, but on the other side, the paradox is the Ola and Uber is rising. Restaurants are closing, but food delivery is increasing. Tuition classes are decreasing, but you'll end up seeing Byju's and all other online platforms increasing. Traders are struggling, marketplaces survive. So there are lots and lots that you can discuss. What is happening is The business or the economy is not the ones which are struggling, but the business models have changed. And it is primarily because of the advancements in technology. But is the curriculum changing along with it? Is it getting upgraded, updated? I mean, that's a question we'll have to ask ourselves. So one of my friends, Jen Thomas, had written an article. This is another, if you find this topic interesting, go back and read. Got published in Malayalam Manorama on 1st January 2020. And here, the title of this article is The Near Future. And he's an associate professor at University of Central Florida. And it kind of summarizes the fourth industrial revolution, what all technologies, advancement is taking place. So I'm a big fan of Karl Marx because he was like a kind of visionary who had anticipated a lot of things which the world would go through. And he said the production of too many useful things might result in too many useless people. But are we useless? I mean, that's a fundamental question. I said, I'm in a confusion. I said, whenever I step out of a class, I think, am I making sense? Am I relevant for my students? How do I become relevant? I mean, these are questions which I kind of tried answering, and these are some of the answers which I'll be sharing with you. So there is another article called The Future of You, written by Ray Kurzweil, The Dawn of Singularity. The Future of You, The Dawn of Singularity, written by Ray Kurzweil, which showcases the kind of technology going with the current pace from 2019 to 2099. What all changes are likely to happen in our life, both personal, professional, technological, and whatever you can imagine. It's brilliantly articulated in this article. This is another document which I want you to go back and read. So my point here is, what the first part of the discussion, what I wanted to create is an automation anxiety. What is automation anxiety? When robots, machines have abilities to do jobs faster and cheaper than humans, it will naturally lead to a sort of a fear and anxiety in the minds of the people, which has already started. And that has resulted in something called automation anxiety, which happens at different levels. Are we becoming obsolete? Are we getting insecure? Or how much of work will get delegated to machines? I mean, these are questions which you need to start asking yourself. You need to start asking your students, compel your students to think about it, as I would repeatedly say, think about it. Yeah. So that was a bit of kind of a part of my presentation. Now, the whole of this Industry 4.0 and the chaos that we are currently in is summarized by an abbreviation called VUCA. VUCA denotes volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Anything you think, take, life itself is ambiguous now. We don't know when we'll go back to the new normal. I still haven't got the vaccination. I am still not able to register for the vaccination. Life has become so very complex and complicated with the arrival of the pandemic and also the technological advancement which is parallelly happening. So we live in a world of VUCA, which is highly volatile, keeps changing every now and then, uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty about our jobs, about our life, about almost everything one could possibly imagine are becoming complex and ambiguous. So I was probably talking a lot of negative, but I then should say, assuming that most of you are in the profession of teaching, go back to the report of 2017 jobs gained, jobs lost report of McKinsey, and they list a lot of jobs: engineer, doctors, lawyers, and the only profession which is under least threat, you can make a guess, is the profession of teaching. This is a profession which requires human intervention. no matter how technological advancement. And that's not what I'm saying. I've relied it on the report, Jobs Lost, Jobs Gained of McKinsey. And then, if you're really curious, there is a website. The title of the website is Will Robots Take Away My Job? Enter your job title and you'll get a result as to how much you are totally safe or no worries. Robots are watching is the third possibility. And the last possibility is you are doomed. You need to be really prepared. Type any job title. It could be accountants, lawyers, computer programmers. Probably it shows in percentages how much of automation is likely to happen in the field. Yeah. So I'm slowly trying to give you certain solutions to the kind of confusion that I've created. Now, I've quoted a lot of Jack Ma, and to build the rest of the narrative, I want you to watch another video of Jack Ma.
Education is a big challenge now. If we do not change the way we teach, 30 years later we'll be in trouble. Because the way we teach, the thing we teach our kids are the things the past 200 years is knowledge-based. And we cannot teach our kids to compete with machine who is smarter. We have to teach something unique. That is, machine can never catch up with us. Value, believing, independent thinking, teamwork, care for others. These are the soft part. The knowledge may not teach you that. Folks, that's why I think we should teach our kids on sports, the music, painting, art, to making sure humans should be different from everything we teach should be different from machine. If the machine can do better, you have to think about it.
Okay. So fundamental suggestion, what Jack Ma had given is to focus on teaching, bring about fundamental changes in the way we deliver the content, right? So I spent about an hour discussing about automation anxiety. Now, what I would suggest is this is another report which I had taken from the World Economic Forum 2016 report. We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't exist, using technologies that haven't yet been invented in order to solve the problems we don't even know are problems yet. So that's where we are as teachers, as academicians, as students, whoever, research scholars, PhD scholars, whoever is attending, or sometimes there are people from corporates as well. This is where we are. So you need to think about what should be done, what can be done, right? Okay. The second context I wanted to discuss is more about, I hope by now you can easily guess it. The most negative word of 2020 was to be tested positive. So there is hardly a sector which is not impacted by the current pandemic. So I'm not playing the video, but this is how I look at my profession. I work in a Bermuda Triangle now. I wake up from the bed, do the basic essentials, have food, go to office. My preparation is online. My delivery is online. My examination is online. My research is online. My meetings are online. Admission related work is online. Today, from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, I was discussing with Vincent sir. 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, I was in a Viva. Now, after 5:30 till probably it will go for another 1 more hour. Till 7:30, I'm in a. So my screen time is roughly, when I say my, I'm talking from an academician's perspective. My screen time is roughly about 13 to 14 hours post-pandemic. And this is not just the case with us, faculties, with almost everyone. So this current pandemic has literally changed the way in which we are working. As I said, I would summarize it as my Bermuda Triangle. I mean, there's nothing else which is happening. If at all some time is left and I need some entertainment, what do? Again, it's the screen time. I go watch some, web series online, engage in some games. That too is online. And then, so my point here is COVID-19 or the current pandemic has literally changed the way in which all of us are working. And that's also brought in a lot of newer challenges. And what are those challenges? Because we need to consider all of these while we design our curriculum. Because what we do today is what decides the future. John Dewey had said, if you continue teaching the way in which we were taught, you'll be robbing the generations of future. Yeah, it's time that you have to think about what should be taught, how should be taught, what methodologies, what should be there in the curriculum, basically, in the framing of curriculum. Now, I have relied on a small newspaper article, which I'll probably take not more than 5 minutes to summarize the second context, which is about the current COVID-19 and the challenges it has brought me. This is another article, Future Shock, 25 Job and Career Trends Post-COVID-19. I'm relying heavily on this article because I found it extensive and kind of brilliantly researched. So one of the things which is likely to happen is loss of job. A lot of my students who got placed are neither getting their call letter or the date of appointment is getting extended because the business is down and nobody is doing good. So nobody needs work, newer employees. And there are newer terminologies which has come up. WhatsApp goodbyes, Zoom firing, pink slips through email. Yeah. And the suggestion as per this article is if you are losing a job or if your boss is cutting the salary, it is okay. You need to remain with your current job because once you're out, it's difficult to find a job. So, and the Bloomberg study, which says that till date the worst of human in worst financial crisis, global financial crisis was in the 1930s. And this is likely, the current pandemic is likely to be 32 to 35% more catastrophic economically, politically, culturally, socially, whatever ways you could define it, than 1930s. So be prepared for it. Are we preparing ourselves for it? Are we preparing our students for it? Are we preparing our curriculum, our academic institutions, our infrastructure for it? Absorb, accommodate the challenges, at the same time the opportunities. Second is salary. I think I spoke about it. With a lot of my colleagues, some of my students who were working the academic, the sector, they were asked, I'm not mentioning the name of a college, they were asked to work for about 6 to 7 months. And one fine morning, the boss says, despite being working there for almost 6 to 7 years, we can't afford paying the salary because a lot of students have requested for pre-concession and our revenue has really come down. We can't afford these many faculties. They were asked to leave the job. Salary cuts, pay cuts. Normally we say last hired is first fired. This is a human HR lingo. But then it is not just the newer employees who are under the Damocles sword. Even the mid-level employees, this is what the report, they did a global survey among 600 companies and 80% of the employees said they are facing a threat of losing, or they are anticipating a loss of job. On top of it is the mental frustration. the mental health of people. I know one of my friend who's an advocate, who's a lawyer. He's a consultant for a big business tycoon in the Middle East who owned a lot of business of petroleum. He committed suicide, not the lawyer, but the businessman. Why? He had made investments in a lot of African countries and Indonesia and a lot of other countries, and thinking that the business would do good. But then the entire world is halted. The petroleum consumption, the demand for petroleum has come down. So he committed suicide. He just couldn't handle because he had borrowed a lot of money from other people. And you won't believe he's the one who owns the largest, the biggest house, which is spread in acres. It is not the money. It is not the other infrastructure. Once, if you're not able to handle your own mental health, it deeply affects. I mean, this is not just for the professionals, even for the students. I got a call from a student who graduated in 2015. He said, sir, I got a message through Instagram and he said, sir, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. I was surprised because we were never in touch. But then he messaged and said, sir, I need to talk to you. I don't know what made him feel that connect to talk to me. But then we spoke and he said, so this is the first time ever in my life that I am staying only with my parents and my siblings. He has two sisters, elder sisters, and he's the only boy. And won't believe they are one of the biggest interior designer company in Bangalore. And he said, sir, I just can't handle the love and affection which my parents and my siblings are giving. And he wanted to stay away in a PG, in a paying accommodation. And he was asking, sir, can I leave my house? Because of this hovering around, because of this helicopter parenting, the love, the overwhelmed by the love and everything. What I'm trying to say is the way people have handled and what people are going through is unprecedented and unimaginable. The mental health. Are we doing something in our curriculum to consider these aspects, not just of making people employable, but also about the mental health? That's another aspect we need to consider. Then look at the entrepreneurship. A study says 8 out of every 10 entrepreneurship, I mean, that's a US-based study, and something similar I came across in India as well, in Bangalore, a study which was done in Bangalore. There's almost 70 to 80% of the startups are getting stuck. The frontline jobs, which are frontline jobs, the food delivery guys, the ones who work in the supermarket, these police officers, firefighters, no matter what, all of these jobs are likely to be less attractive because you have this high possibility of getting affected by the current COVID. So there again is a further loss of job. This is again wherever there is human interaction, close human interaction, is all likely to become lesser. Another thing, I'll just wind up the discussion about COVID-19 and then switch on to our focus area, which is about the curriculum 4.0. Migration is also migration from a country to another, maybe for higher education or sometimes even for jobs, sometimes for permanent settlement has also come down globally. One of my own friend, a professor who's a director of Indian Institute of Management, his son had taken admission in China, and that is exactly the time when this pandemic hit. He had sold a property which was worth about 80 lakhs, 80 lakhs, a prime property in Himachal Pradesh, just to get this admission and get his son's admission in China. He had made the initial investment as well, but had to withdraw. So such possibilities of going abroad for higher studies. So there is a likelihood of a flush of our own students to our own campuses. When I say our own, Indian students to Indian campuses itself. This is an opportunity, but are we delivering it to the standards expected? That's another question you need to ask yourself. And the last one, there are one or two more points about the current pandemic, and then I'll switch on to curriculum 4.0. The last aspect, the second last aspect is the work from home. I was talking to a lot of my friends working in the corporates and some of the top officials whom I spoke to, and this is also validated by a report by Deloitte. It says that 40 to 50% of the current work from home is likely to continue. The remote working is likely to continue because there are benefits attached to it. Organizations need not hire big buildings. There is no travel expenses, no pollution, less people on road. So this model is more economical for the organization as also for the employees. And therefore, especially the women, I mean, this survey says, of Deloitte says, majority of women find this work from home more flexible and accommodative to meet the demands of both, striking a balance of both their personal and professional. So are we bringing in those kind of changes, making people employable, working from home? What skill sets do you think are needed? Another aspect you need to, I mean, all of this one hour and probably 15 minutes I was spending was to set a context to make you feel and get an understanding of what all changes are happening around us and what is it that we're doing, what should be doing in the curriculum, in the syllabus, the revisions and the updations. Another thing, the unorganized sector, 800 million odd number of people are expected to lose the job. Their life is hit really, really bad. So what I've spoken, the second part of the discussion is the pandemic anxiety. I spoke about automation anxiety in the first part, and the second is about the pandemic anxiety. And I hope you've understood about the first question, or rather the confusion which I had. How do I stand relevant? Each of us, not just faculties, each of us will have to start asking this question. How do we stand relevant? How do we find the job? What makes us employable? And these are all questions. A blockbuster, now I'm trying to answer this question, and then I'll take probably about 2 to 3 minutes of a break and then switch on to the topic, Curriculum 4.0. Blockbuster was at its peak, at their business peak. You know what Blockbuster did? They sold movie CDs, video games, and they were minting money. But then comes another business model, which is Netflix. And literally in the same year, when they were declared, one of the highest profit making, the same year they were declared bankrupt. Same thing happened with Borders. They had another business model, books, music, and cafe. They were selling it, and then it was also, I mean, those of you who are exposed to US, you know these two brands, Blockbuster and Borders, and both were literally wiped out in the market in a very short span. And I think this is a cliched example. We say Kodak moment. Kodak was so overconfident that they never, probably they underestimated the digital camera. And we today call it the Kodak moment. The moment when you realize that the customer behaviors and preferences change so dramatically from your assumptions that it is too late to change. Kodak failed to understand the market changes. And this Kodak moment is what I want all of you to avoid in the classrooms, in your students. When we fail to anticipate the changes, when we fail to understand the changes which are happening around us, you would literally be thrown out of the market, just as it happened with Nokia, just as it happened with Kodak, with BlackBerry, sorry. So many other brands. Yeah. But then there is an interesting thing to it. I want you to kind of respond to this question as well. What do you think is common in all of these companies? Microsoft, HP, IBM, Disney, Burger King, CNN, FedEx, General Motors, and Apple. These were all companies which were started during some or the other crisis, either financial or some of the other crisis. From here on, let's look at the opportunities for which I'm relying on a Chinese word, pinyin. If you split this Chinese word, it has two characters. The character Wei J, it says danger comes with opportunity. Every challenge comes with an opportunity. So what is a challenge? What I think this is I would say, a period of transition. This 2020, 2021, and probably a couple more of months to add on would be a major period for us to, I don't think Valover College would have ever thought of organizing a webinar had this pandemic not happened. Connecting me, who is in Kerala, and connecting with 300 people across the globe and organizing this event. So every challenge, every kind of such challenge brings in opportunity. So what are the academic opportunities that is bringing in? Now, earlier I spoke about VUCA. What is VUCA? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What is the solution? What is the antidote to this VUCA? And this applies to academic institutions. This applies to your curriculum. This applies to individuals as well. If you're looking at volatility, if you look at volatility as a vision, if you're able to anticipate the issues and shape conditions for change, for growth, the challenge becomes an opportunity. Instead of uncertainty, if you're able to embrace and understand the consequences of each of the issues and start taking actions, I think it becomes a great opportunity. From complexity to finding clarity, I think, the Valover College has done a brilliant job organizing a 6-day faculty development program, identifying topics to get clarity on what is happening around. Kudos to you. But that's exactly what all institutions, every academic institution, all of us individually have also to do. From complexity, seek clarity, and the last is from ambiguity, you will look switching on to agility, quickly respond to the changes, prepare, interpret, and address the opportunities. And that's the antidote which I've got to present as compared to the VUCA. Having said that, this is a time for innovation and experimentation. 27 years, I'm guessing the number of years is correct. Nelson Mandela was in the prison, and somebody asked him, you might have had a tough time, 24 years in prison, really, really tough time. I just can't even think about it. So Mandela's response is a classic response to what all of us should be doing. He said, do you think I was suffering? I was preparing for the life ahead. I was preparing for the time that lies ahead of me. This is a time for us to do a lot of innovation and experimentation, including the curriculum. I'll just quote one corporate example. Some of you have been to Europe. Some of you visited the strip clubs. A lot of strippers lost their job. And they were running short of money there because that's the only source of income they had. And it's this time they started thinking out of the box. It's a time they started thinking agile. And they came up with this idea that they'll have a tie-up with a food delivery organization. And these strippers would go and deliver the food bare breast. It's called Boober Eats, a newer business model. Strippers staff Boober Eats delivery service during coronavirus pandemic, and they came up with this model, and this is how they did. Portland, Oregon had come up with it. So what I'm saying is, it is a time that we need to not focus only on continuous improvement, but a giant leap from what we've been doing to completely different, completely out of the box. And this is not what I've said. This is what I've taken from Guy Kawasaki. Great innovation occurs when you jump to the next curve. And I think this probably 1 or 2 years that we've been have given us that luxury of experimenting with newer pedagogies. So having said all of that, one of the models which is likely to continue, which Apple group of companies have already practiced, is likely to continue across fields, including academic institutions. And what is that model? Team space is the office space. They also have a me space, an option to work from home, remote working. They also have an open space. You can work anywhere, anytime, co-working, park, lobby, cafe, anywhere. And then there is a virtual space, the holistic connector of all of these. And this model is what is anticipated for all the organizations, including academic institutions. Cross-connecting, team, me, open and virtual is the future. Corporates, they were also doing, I'll connect all of these points towards the end. Don't think that I won't speak about curriculum. I'll come to it. As I said, I'm just setting a context. So S&P, Standard & Poor's, they did a survey, and they found that in 1965, the average tenure or the number of years that an employee remains in an organization, the average tenure was 33 years. By 1990, it has come down to 20 years. And by 2027, it is likely to become 12 years. If you go by that trend. Yeah. Why have I brought this? This talks about the changing employment dynamics. So I spoke about three aspects. Two aspects. I'm switching on to the third aspect, which is the rise of gig economy. Gone are the days where you found a job, you work and retire in the same organization. As I said, 1919 itself, things have started changing. 2027, people have started switching on to multiple jobs, especially in the IT sector. Ask anyone, they would have already worked in the age of 30s. By the age of 30, they would have already worked on an average 4 to 5 companies, or sometimes even more. It is not just that. Another thing, what is likely to happen is the rise, which has already started along with the pandemic, is the rise of gig economy. What is gig economy? Where you don't have a job, job, but you are called for a task. Suppose I'm good at content writing, or probably Vincent sir thought I'm good at this topic. I'm called for this topic to deliver a lecture. I get paid for this topic and I'm done. It is not a permanent job. It is only tasks which is going to have be there in a gig economy, and that gig economy is also rising. Suppose you're good with knitting, you're good with yoga, you're good with, let's say, cooking, you're good with gardening, you're good with, you do these tasks, I'm not calling it job, and make money. The advantage there is you need to be extremely good at that. Only then people will call you, and you can work at multiple places. So are we creating those kind of skill sets in our students, in our curriculum, in our syllabus? I mean, that's the fundamental question that we all have to ask. So for that, a lot of opportunities there, a lot of online, websites and portals are there for people to find gig work. So having said all of that, I get into the topic curriculum 4.0. The pre-COVID and post-COVID is certainly going to be completely different because technology is changing. COVID has changed a lot of our lifestyles, and then experiments, as I said, Uber Eats and so many other has happened. Academic institutions are also experimenting with a lot of things. So what do we do as academicians? That's the point at which I wish to take a 2-minute break. Meantime, I want you to do a small activity, all the participants. There is a small thing which you have to do. What do you think are the skill sets we all should possess to outperform an automation and pandemic? I want you to respond in this chat box, not this chat box. There is a menti.com website. Use the code 8184 50 95, 8184 5095. You can use that code, log in, and give your responses to this question. What skill sets? Because that's from where we need to begin our curriculum. What skill sets do you think our students, do you think we should possess to outperform the automation and the challenges which are raised by the current pandemic? Not in chat box, I want you to respond. I'll take a 1 minute break, not a 2 minute. I'll take a 1 minute break, and then you can keep responding to this question. I hope you have understood how to do this. Menti.com, log into menti.com, use the code 81 84 50 95, respond to this question. Skill sets we should possess to outperform automation and the current pandemic. So participants, a request, I'll take another half an hour to complete this. Otherwise, I won't be doing justice to the topic. So you need to have your patience, and your link to give feedback would be shared only after that. Yeah. Thank you for understanding. Sorry for extending the session, because this sometimes happens with me. It gets long. Sorry for that. Okay. I don't think anyone has responded, but then let me continue with the topic. I hope you remember this girl, Greta Thunberg. She made a brilliant statement, which was for me really shocking. She said, our action is the reaction to your inaction. I repeat, our action. She was addressing what students of her age had started doing is a reaction to your inaction. She was pointing fingers at the people of the earlier generation. You have not done responsibly, and that's where we have started responding. So we are living in a time, my point here is, we are living in a time when students have started, or children have started pointing fingers at us for so many things that we have not done, including what we have not done in the classrooms. Right? I don't wish to play the video, but I'll share the link of that video. So we are a part of a system which is very structured, systematic, and very organized and standardized. Right? We have a structured syllabus, and this is actually an outcome of industrial revolution. You know what happens in an industry? You have raw materials which gets processed, and finally you get a finished product. If you look at the classroom structure and the classes, it's pretty much the same. There is an intake in the form of admission, assignments, assessments, and finally your graduate with a certificate, which is pretty much standardized format of assessment. And there is an interesting video on this, how schools kill creativity. It's by Ken Robinson. Please do go back and watch that video. It's just 10 to 13 minutes by Ken Robinson, how schools kill creativity. So all of us, most of us are a part of a very structured, very systematic, very well organized, standardized model of academic system, which is actually an outcome or a result of an industrial or post-industrial revolution. And we have a very uniform pattern of assessment. All of us, no matter what skill sets we possess, most of us have a common examination to take. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb the tree. And this is being asked to, people with different skill sets. And this is exactly how the examination pattern is also. Now, having said that, the Learning opportunities changed post 6th of August 1991. What happened on 6th of August 1991? That's when internet had become accessible for you and us, you and me. The opportunities of learning from local to linear had become global to exponential. If you are confined to Karur or whichever place you belong to, Karur is where, for the benefit of the participants here, the college which is hosting this event is. Earlier, we had to confine to the places where we are, but today, with the opening up of the internet, having access to multiple channels, multiple sources of learning, the opportunities have gone global and exponential.
பூண்டு வாங்கிட்டான்னு வச்சுங்க இப்ப மளிகை பொருள் வைக்கலன்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க பருப்பும் போட்டோம் இதுலயே பருப்பையும் விசாரிச்சாங்க பருப்பு 4 மூட்டை வாங்கிட்டாங்க ஒன்னும் கிடையாதுமா ஒரு நாளைக்கு 10 வண்டிக்கு 10 கிலோ வித்தா போதும்.
Okay, so thank you. I won't take much time. In half an hour, I'll wind up. If the impatience was because of that, sorry. I'll try to wrap up as early as I can. So the point here is 6th of August became a watershed year in the human history, because especially in terms of the opportunities of learning, opportunities of job and employment, because that's when internet became accessible for us. And this is what we started saying. It's not just Mata Pita Guru Deva. We also started including Google. We rely a lot on Google. Yeah, our students have started relying so much on Google. So from a stage, I would say a sage on a stage, the role of a faculty has transitioned to, to be a mentor on the side, right? Now, I'm just listing out a few points. I want you to cross-connect and understand the relevance of it. There are different types of learning which can happen. One is the learning at the level of content, whatever is there in the syllabus or in the curriculum. Curriculum is, I hope all of you know the difference between syllabus and curriculum. Curriculum includes the method of teaching, the expectations, which is more wider. Syllabus is only confined to what is there, what topics are to be learned. Yeah. Now, there are students who confine their learning only to the syllabus, which is known as the level of content. The content in the syllabus is what they learn. They reproduce it for the sake of examination. They score good marks and then they forget it. Second is, there is a level of concept. A little more deeper, people go deeper and understand the concept, and they would probably also become a reference point for others. They would teach this content, what they've learned, because they have a conceptual understanding, and they would teach others. That's another level of learning. The third level, which is a little more deeper, is the level of context. They know in which context what they've learned can be applied. Yeah. So different. I'm just summarizing it in my own words, or probably the way I look at it. So there are students of different learning intentions. There are students who can learn at different levels. Some learn at the level of content, some at the level of concept, some go deeper and learn the application of it. In our curriculum, are there activities which are blended to address the demands of these three: content, concept, and context? That's another question now, but I would bounce back to you. But then we also talk about Edgerdale's cone of experience. It is said that the most effective learning is when there is experiential or hands-on learning, when there is simulation, models, experience, designing, when you actually do the thing. It's not when you read or hear or see an image or watch a video or participate in a webinar like this. Is not when the real learning happens. When you start creating, I mean, I'm talking about collaborative learning, experiential learning. So are there assignments, are there tasks in your curriculum which help students to design things on their own, models, experiences, gain experience? That's another question which I'll. So there are different, as I said, different levels of learning. In some aim at lower order thinking skills, which is more about knowledge acquisition, but some prefer higher order thinkings, which is about knowledge creation. These are people who are researchers who would explore, go deeper. I mean, are there components in Christ University? We had made it mandatory for the postgraduate students to publish a research paper, without which they won't graduate. And what is the intent behind this activity? In the curriculum change which we brought in 2000, if I'm not wrong, in 2015, the intention is knowledge creation, helping student get the gain an experience of how the research work happens. Is that embedded in your curriculum? Okay, that's another aspect. Because over a period, when we are talking about Industry 4.0, we need to understand the fact that the students are not relying only on you. Multiple options, but multiple ways in which they can learn the subject. So earlier you had a very dominant role to play. Teacher had a dominant, but then slowly when the technology came in, we transformed from teacher to trainer, and today we are just a facilitator. So in the curriculum, are we creating components wherein the students can be made participants in co-creating knowledge, engaging them in such a way that the assignments makes them get a feel of what they can learn from? I mean, I might be sounding a little philosophical, but I have a little more, examples. Because the fundamental problem with, I know I was talking about a system that was developed as a part of the fourth phase of industrial revolution or industrialization, isn't meeting the demands. Sorry, the system which was developed as a part of industrial revolution isn't actually meeting the demands of the fourth phase of industrial revolution, because 21st century kids are being taught with pretty much similar curriculum, school curriculum, which is a systemic dilemma. Go back and think about whether we have updated. In syllabus, of course, you might have limitations, but in the curriculum, it is up to the faculty. What should I be doing with the syllabus? What curriculum, what methodology of teaching, what assignments I should be giving? I, as an academician, have the liberty to decide. You believe me, I gave in the business communication classes, I give my students the liberty to choose their assignment. If someone is good with making videos, that is their assignment. If someone is good with blog writing, that is their assignment. If someone is good with doing a presentation, that was their assignment. Nothing unique. And that liberty I had to bring in the curriculum. And you believe it or not, that was the best of the assignments that I had got till date. Another experiment which we did is blog writing. One of the primary concern that all of us as faculties were facing was most of the assignments were copied from Wikipedia, SlideShare, and so many other online resources. So we said we'll keep it a transparent and open system where you have to write something genuine without copying, because and that was a blog. And if there is a similarity test, I mean, we've kept a similarity test as well, plagiarism check. And if there is a similarity of anything more than 50%, 0 marks. And believe me, we got the best of the assignments. So are you doing such experiments with the curriculum, with the syllabus? Are you bringing in such innovative practices in your classrooms? That's a question which I bounce it back to you. When you think about curriculum 4.0, it has to meet the demands of industry 4.0. It has to currently meet the demands of the pandemic. It also has to make people recent and relevant. are you doing such experiments? Because I'm assuming all of us belong to different age group. Yeah, there are millennial, Zoomers, Generation Alpha, but we all, I mean, this is exactly what is being said in this slide by Tom Herrick. Yeah, the academicians of different age groups are addressing students of one age group, whom I believe are learning more from the screens and the earplugs than from the classrooms. And the instances like there is nothing happening inside, because why am I looking outside? Because there is nothing happening inside, might happen if you don't adapt to the newer methods and of student engagement, some of which I've suggested. So another aspect which I wanted to emphasize on while I speak more about curriculum 4.0 is we speak about unemployment. If you can recollect or identify this building, this is a huge insult on the entire academic system. Without wasting time, let me tell what the answer is. This is situated in Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, the largest human resource training center in the globe. TCS, Tata Consultancy Services Initial Learning Program Center is what this is. Such a huge insult on what we are doing in the classes. Why? Because whoever TCS recruits has to further undergo a training to make them employable. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? I had another experience. I'm not revealing the name of a student, but while I was working in the research division of Indian Institute of Management, I came across a student who was a most promising student there. He came out from an interview room for employment. A lot of companies had come for recruitment. And this student, who was otherwise one of the good students in the campus, seemed to be quite dejected. And what made him feel dejected was a statement made by the interview panel members. They said, we'll recruit you, we'll select you on a condition that you'll have to undergo 8 months of training. You'll feel further dejected because this is a student who had 12 years of schooling plus 3 to 4 years of engineering, left that job, found a job, worked for 1 year, then 2 years, he was at one of the premier academic institutions in India. And at a time when he is 26 or 27, going for interview, the employer says, "Beta, you forget everything that you've learned. We will train you for the job." Such an insult. So here the point is, the problem is not unemployment or underemployment. The problem today is unemployability, which is a bigger problem than unemployment. And it is primarily because of the failure of the curriculum to address and meet the demands of the market. I mean, we are responsible for it. We, in the sense, the academicians are responsible for it. Yeah, I mean, these are not just statements. You look at a report which had come from UNICEF. Over half of Indian students will not have skills of 21st century jobs. That is why I had asked the question, what skill sets do you think would make your students employable, relevant, amidst pandemic, amidst the industry 4.0? That's why I had conducted that. I mean, unfortunately, many of you didn't respond. But then we are living in a time when humans are hooked and machines are learning, and machines would advance further in terms of, this is where let me just quickly check if I've got any responses. Yeah, innovation, convenient approach and resilience is what some of them have responded. Okay. Now, my point here is, what are we good at? I mean, if we are good at certain things, we need not much worry about it, embedding those in our curriculum. There are certain things which we are extremely good at. Only human beings can do. The common sense, intuition, creativity, empathy, and versatility. But those aspects, those skill sets which the technology do possess, large data sets, complex calculation, learning, automation, all of those jobs are likely to get replaced. So we need not bother much about bringing those skill sets in people, skill sets or the activities in the curriculum. Think about what you can do to bring in intuition, creativity, empathy, versatility, uniqueness in our students. Because this is what World Economic Forum says. They have come up with a report, Future of Jobs Report 2018, World Economic Forum. They identified 10 jobs emerging in nature and 10 skill sets for 2025. Please do go back and have a look at these reports and try to incorporate these skill sets, activities that can blend in the curriculum 4.0, which can nurture these probably around 10 skill sets which they have mentioned. Because that's what makes us employable. That's what would make us relevant. I mean, that's the question with which I began, right? So fundamentally, when I had read a couple of reports, these are some of the basic skill sets which all the reports had in common. Creativity in your assignments, in your assessments, in your curriculum, embed creativity, collaborative work. Today, the opportunities are huge. I teach entrepreneurship. There is a platform called Canvanizer. Any number of people can prepare a business plan online. No need to have physical presence at a place. They can work simultaneously. I mean, look at such online possibilities of collaboration, critical thinking, questioning the conventional assumptions, communication, that's another skill set, and emotional intelligence, being empathetic to people. These are the skill sets which makes curriculum 4.0 and which the skills which would make people employable. Think about it. How can we incorporate these skill sets in our curriculum? Because technology alone will not improve education, but it can be a powerful part of the solution. Technology can only be a solution, but it is we academicians who have to bring in such drastic changes in the curriculum, which makes us relevant, which makes our students relevant, right? So what is this curriculum or education 4.0? I mean, it was also just as industry 4.0. It took a lot of time in bringing about a lot of transition. Education 1.0 technology is unheard of, cautiously adopted. 3.0 is ubiquitous. It is present everywhere, almost everywhere. But today we are talking about the 4.0 or the education 4.0. I'll elaborate what education and then be specific about curriculum and then wind up in another 10 minutes because I've exceeded almost 1 hour. I've taken more than what was allotted to me, but I'm extremely sorry for that. Now we need to understand what is education 4.0. It's about anytime, anywhere learning. It's about making learning more and more personal. And why is Byju's becoming so popular? Because students can customize. If I don't like lecture, I have other options to choose from. Videos. I can gaming. I can learn through gaming. I can plug in and just listen and learn. I mean, so those options are there. So learning would become more and more personal in education 4.0. So when you prepare your curriculum 4.0 for education 4.0, keep these aspects in time. Involve things that makes students learn anytime, anywhere, making it personal, flexible, peer and mentors. There are a lot of activities where you involve collaborative work, collaborative assignments. I mean, that's exactly what you need when you go for a work in corporate, teamwork. How do you nurture such skill sets? It's only possible when there are collaborative assignments. Yeah. Then it's about assessment would shift from why and where to what and how, making them critical thinkers. Practical application, modular projects, student ownership, and above everything, they'll be evaluated than examined. Evaluation, examination are entirely different. Examination is more about read, remember, recollect, and reproduce, but examination is more about examining the aspects and then understanding the core and ethos of it. Yeah, where to apply the theory that you learn. There is something called contextual intelligence. That's a new kind of research which is happening. I'll speak about it. So what I'm talking about is this. Pedagogy will change from, pedagogy would shift towards heutagogy. What is heutagogy? Encourages learners to become more self-directed. Students will take ownership, has to take ownership in curriculum 4.0. Devise your assignments and assessments in that manner. Pedagogy is about co-learning, is about collaborative learning, pedagogy. And cybergogy is utilizing all possible online platforms in your curriculum. That's the shift which is likely to happen from pedagogy to heutagogy, pedagogy to heutagogy, pedagogy, and cybergogy. So teaching and tech transitions, I don't need to elaborate this. There are lots of options: Google Classroom, MOOC, Canva, Mercer and Metal, and so many platforms are there. Some of which, I use Kahoot quite a lot. I use Mentimeter quite a lot online, because until and unless people are really confident to go back to the new normal, hybrid remote teaching, online experiments are likely to continue. So there are lots of platforms which can be experimented for your teaching. Slido is another option. Then PeerDuck is another one to conduct surveys. It's really interesting. Jamboard most of which are free, absolutely free in your curriculum. In your online platform, which can be included while you devise your curriculum. How to utilize Jamboard, how to utilize PeerDuck, how to use Slido, incorporate that, Padlet. Yeah. So then above all, there are other popular options for which I would also suggest you to do an 8-week program of to learn all these tools. There is Google for Education, which is also free of cost. You can register, and in 8 weeks you can complete this course, learn a lot of teaching or pedagogy or methods of teaching. Besides these, there are MOOC, massive online, open online courses. During this 1 year, I completed 38 MOOC courses. MOOC, I shouldn't say MOOC courses, MOOC, absolutely free of cost. There are platforms like Coursera. Now, can you blend these MOOC in the curriculum as well? Not everything needs to be taught, because if there are universities like Stanford and MIT or Yale University offering the same course, their faculty is teaching, half your work is done. So think about your curriculum designing in such a way that these online MOOC and other platforms, whichever I mentioned, can be embedded in your curriculum. Because so many things we can discuss to conduct. Online whiteboards are there. These are all free. Quizzes, there is Kahoot, Quizlet, Mentimeter. So I'll share the details of these platforms for conducting assessments, mind map, video conferencing, video editing. So many options are there. So my point here, before I wind up in the next 5 minutes, is there are 5 I's of learning in education 4.0, which has to be emphasized in your curriculum. Number 1 is imbibing. Activities that help students internalize the concepts that you teach. Second is iterating, practicing fundamental skills, the skills which were listed by World Economic Forum, the skills which are needed for Industry 4.0, skills which you think would make our students employable and relevant in the days of current pandemic. Iterate, practice, give students experience, exposure. Interpreting, critical thinking, facts from studying and applying those, experiential learning. Interest, developing an interest, which is a different skill set, which we have to work a lot while we devise and design our curriculum. How do we generate interest in our students? And the last one is innovativeness. Think differently. And as I said, the blog experiment I did, and I found brilliant result. Giving liberty and freedom for the students to choose their assignment. That brought, I mean, those innovations I would have not thought had this pandemic not happened. So think innovativeness, imbibing, iterating, interpreting, interest, and innovating would be the 5 I's of learning in education, which has to be started in your curriculum, devised in your curriculum, designed in your curriculum. Yeah. So I'll skip quite a few slides, but then there is one more report which I would suggest you to read, which is the Realizing Human Potential in Fourth Industrial Revolution, an agenda for leaders to shape the future of education. It's a report which is freely accessible for all the curriculum designers, for all the educators, for all the academicians. Please do read this report as well, in addition to whatever suggestions, because whether you agree with it or disagree with it, NEP has its credit. We have to credit it because a new education policy had come after 36 years. You can politically disagree with, but this is something which is throwing open a lot of new possibilities. Whatever I've spoken, a lot of ideas I've taken from NEP. So this is, you can have discussions around, so I'll just sum up whatever topic I have discussed today. You need to have at your, before you devise your curriculum, you need to have discussions about Industry 4.0 and its impact on your curriculum. You need to have serious discussions about the current pandemic and how it has changed the education space. While you plan or devise strategies to design your curriculum, you need to think about the rising gig economy and the opportunities and challenges while you devise your curriculum. You need to also think about the national education policy, which is likely to get implemented in the next couple of years, because these are things which will bring about, which is likely to affect the life of and future of our students. Yeah. So on that note, I would skip quite a few slides. Most of what I have said, I'm sure, is something which you were already aware of. What I was trying to do is to turn and clear your vision so that you can start focusing on certain particular aspects, because it's quite subjective. Accounting, what is needed is entirely different from the subject, let's say entrepreneurship. That is entirely different from the subject financial management. So it's quite subjective, and it's quite subjective to the faculties. So that liberty, I leave it to you. And I created automation anxiety, I'm assuming. Then I spoke about pandemic anxiety, and I'm leaving you with academic anxiety, because I believe in something called cognitive dissonance. You know what cognitive dissonance is? I had this professor at IM who used to say every lecture, every webinar, every discussion that you initiate should end with cognitive dissonance. Dissatisfaction in the minds of the participation, in the minds of the participants. Why? If you teach everything, there stops the learning. But if there are things that is left to the participants to explore and experiment on their own, I think half my effort would have turned successful. So I leave this session open for questions, leaving a lot of cognitive dissonance. I'm more than happy to take questions from the participants. And I'll leave my contact and other details here if there aren't any questions. But if there are questions, the floor is for the participants now. Whatever time is remaining, whatever the host is permitting, I'm more than happy to spend with you.
Good evening, sir.
So I won't say, as I said, as an expert, based on the experience and the little knowledge I have, I'll give some half-baked answers, some lead, some suggestions. Thank you, Valuvar College and Vincent sir, for this opportunity once again. Let's take a few questions if there are any.
Good evening, sir. I would like to ask a question. I'm Mohammad Tahir Khan from New College, assistant professor.
All right, wonderful.
Sir, my question is, we are talking about new syllabus, right? And innovation and creativity in learning. my question to you is, when we were students, our system was just like that, in the manner we used to learn in a repetitive way, in a traditional manner, mostly chalk and talk, and we have no practical experience or exposure to industries that much. So how can we deliver creative content, creative assignments to our students when we ourselves have been learning in chalk and talk manner? And if we are about to learn, if we are about to sit and learn for that, it will affect our work-life balance, because we have work and other commitments also. So that is my question, sir. Please answer.
Good. Thank you for asking that question. No, I'll tell.
Sir,
Based
excuse me. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, even I had been from the same background I have come from. It's around 20 years in teaching field. If you allow me, I can tell him some examples of how we are managing.
All right. Can I first answer that, and then I'll
Yes,
let you.
yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in my institution, in the university which I come from, what we do is, at the time when we revise our syllabus, curriculum review committee, we have included people from the industry. We ask them what is their expectation, what is it that we are delivering, and what is it that they are expecting from our students. Based on their suggestions, we have made it mandatory that the students get, we have revised a lot of activities and assignments which gives them hands-on learning. So Python is taught in, is a software which I hope you're aware of, is taught at the undergraduate level. Now, these are inputs which we got from the industry. Now, analytics is taught. We were never updated about what is expected and what will make our students employable. So what we regularly and frequently do is take input and feedback from the corporates. That is one suggestion. Now, if there is an opportunity, if there is a possibility of including corporates or the future employees made a part of your curriculum review, they are the best ones to give a feedback. Second, include your own alumni. Call back your alumni who maybe recently got a job and has maybe about 1 year of experience or 2 years of experience. Call them back while you do your curriculum review. Ask them, what is it that you were lacking? Because they are the ones who know what had happened a year before in college, and a year after what they're doing in while they are at work. Ask them, gain their feedback, and make revisions in your curriculum. These are two things which we do and practice thoroughly every year, and it has found results. That's one take on it. I have the second part of it, but I would invite a ma'am who had volunteered to answer this question. Ma'am.
Yes, sir. Actually, only thing we need to look at is going to be used how in the field. If we are able to understand how aspect of the subject that we are going to teach, the same how in an organization should be demonstrated in a classroom. That is simple answer for that question, where anything and everything which can be demonstrated in an organizational context should be demonstrated in a classroom. And the demonstration can be with the inclusion of students or experts or the teacher themselves.
The basic point is, what are the ways in which you can give your students experiential learning?
Yeah, for example, what I am doing is in my class, I am teaching compensation management, sir. In that, I used to collect the formats of pay slips and give to the students and compare and learn how an organization differs from the other organization, how a profile differs from the other profile with reference to the components of pay slip. Why that different? And if we don't differ between profiles, if we don't differ to compensate, what will happen? That is what is going to be the discussion part in the class.
Yes. Similarly, we also do, download the balance sheet of companies. So balance sheet analysis, what we're doing is actual balance sheet is what we are doing the analysis, no comparative analysis. So
yes, yes.
Several things which can be practiced, provided you are having, or I actually wanted to show you one more thing which I intentionally skipped. So probably this would also answer your question. In Africa, when how the farmers in Africa catch the monkeys who eat away their crop, they will fill a coconut with a lot of nuts and fruits, and once these monkeys come and put their hands inside, they would never leave the nuts. They would never want to leave the nuts, and their hand gets stuck. And these farmers would go and catch these monkeys. So our problem as academicians are like this. We have been conditioned by what we have learned or how our teachers have learned. Who is stopping you to experiment with newer pedagogies? Who is stopping you? Because in the classroom, you are the boss. You can decide what assignment should be given, and you can, if provided the institution gives that flexibility, whatever, at least in my institution, whatever we suggest, if there is a consensus, it's implemented, and most of which are out of the box kind of a thinking. So my point here is, what is that monkey trap you are not letting go? What is it that you are still continuing as a practice, which you keep saying, I was taught in this manner and I have other commitments, and that is what is stopping me from experimenting something innovative. You have to think about it, about the monkey traps which you are in. You have to let it go. Let go those fruits and nuts. Only then, any change would happen.
Sir, shall I speak, sir?
Yes, sir. Please.
Shall I respond? Sir, while I appreciate your answer, that nothing is stopping us from experimenting new things, and I appreciate ma'am's thing, that the demonstration stuff, and also your response that we should bring in experts and alumni for framing the syllabus. I totally agree with that. When we are framing the syllabus, yes, we can get reviews from other things, but I'm talking about, we are not expert in that field. We are just academicians. We don't have practical hands-on knowledge with those things which we are teaching. Suppose I'm teaching HRM, human resource management. I am not an HR manager in any company. I have learned from the books, so I have bookish knowledge. Hardly I would have done some internship during my master's degree, right? If I have done MPhil, some project work I would have done, but that doesn't give me some expertise knowledge in that subject. And we cannot bring in experts now and then. It will be very difficult for us to teach. So in our class, how can we, without having the expertise knowledge, how can we provide expertise knowledge only with the help of books which we have acquired, bookish knowledge which we have acquired? That is my question, sir.
Got it. Do you experiment with case studies? Do you experiment with caselets? What are you giving in turn? Or are you teaching, reproducing what is there in the textbook, which is not needed? Students can, when all of them are literate, they can read it on their own. My point here is, we are all stuck at a point where we rarely try to experiment. I completely agree with the point that you have not, or probably faculties who are of similar mindset, have not gained practical experience. But explore possibilities of how games can be embedded in the classroom pedagogy, or how case studies can be embedded in the pedagogy, or just download videos. YouTube is absolutely free. TED Talks are there. A lot of online, if I may, leanstack.com. When I teach entrepreneurship, Leanstack is an online platform. You don't need much of an expertise in that, except using internet. So what is Leanstack? See, if you create a group assignment, you can assign 10 students and ask them to prepare a business model canvas using these online platform. They can sit at any place across the globe and start working on it. They can do the submission online. You can do the assessment online. I mean, isn't that experiential learning? Who's stopping you doing that?
Yes, sir. That can be. Yes, sir.
My point is, it is our mindset that, I mean, I'm getting limited to, I'm not having experience there. If you are, if you look exploring beyond your textbook, there are, I mean, we are living in a time where none of our predecessors, sorry, none of our ancestors have had this much of opportunity as much as we are having now. Online games are there, case studies are there, online activities are there, then videos are there, which can all be embedded as part of the curriculum, is what my point is, which gives them, if not an actual experience, in addition to that, bring people from the industry, conduct workshops. As you said, it's not possible always, but once a while you bring their expertise as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your insightful answer. I'll surely try to implement.
Yes, Jeevita ma'am. See, I'm sorry that if I've been a little harsh, but my point is, I'm more than happy to, extend my help and support. We can.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insight.
Schedule. Really, it was wonderful session. We have received very good response from our participants. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful speech, which was really an interactive and informative to us. There is an end to everything, but we believe that there is never an end, but always beginning. Thus, to conclude, I request Ms. L. Abhinaya ma'am to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, one and all, at this pleasant gathering. Gratitude is the attitude that takes you to your altitude. I have the pleasant task of delivering vote of thanks to this majestic gathering. I extend my sincere gratitude to the person whose success isn't something that just happens. Success is learned, success is practiced, and then it is shared is none other than our chairman, sir, Mr. Singuttuvan. Thank you, sir. Behind every famous and influential person, there is a driving force. And in many cases, this driving force is unfalling love and support of mother. Who is as our secretary, ma'am? Mrs. Hemalada Singuttuvan. Thank you, ma'am. I take this opportunity to thank our governing member, Ms. Rahavi Singuttuvan, who has a good leadership. The leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Thank you, ma'am. I thank our principal, sir, Dr. G. Wilson, who is the great leader. The leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest thing. Thank you, sir. I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Is none other than our chief guest. I extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Rishikesh, Assistant Professor of Christ University, Bangalore. Thank you, sir. I also extend my thanks to all the heads of various departments, faculty members of our college and other colleges, and non-teaching staff for their support. Finally, I thank the members of FDP for their support and put this successful program. Thank you, and thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all the participants for joining with us today. Dear participants, we look forward for your participation for tomorrow's session. Our tomorrow session is on professionalism, professional positivism. Thanks once again. Thank you, sir, and to all the participants, eminent persons who have joined across India. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. It was a good session.
Thank you, sir. Excellent session.
Thank you, sir.
Amazing session, sir.
Thank you, Rishikesh.
Very excellent session, sir. Thank you so. Thank you to all.
Very good session, madam.
Amazing, sir.
Good session, sir.
We are gathering so much of knowledge from your presentation, sir. Thank you, once again, sir.
Take the call, sir.
Okay, Aravind.
We will end up, sir.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you, Rishi, and thank you all the participants. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent, sir.
Yeah.
Vincent, sir. Thank you, Bito.
Bito. Thank you, Bito. I messaged you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank